Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the final round of Season 2 of the Divine Eye Racing Series, where tonight we'll be at Japan, the Suzuka circuit. And the reason why I'm a little bit earlier is because this time I am prepared. The format today, one-shot qualifying, followed by a sprint race, which is half the distance of the feature race, and then, of course, the feature race, as we are jumping in to the one-shot qualifying this time without me needing to interrupt anywhere but the action. As it's raining. It is currently raining. We are in Japan and it is raining. The drivers have been told to prepare for wet. Have been told to practice their wet laps, to practice their to prepare their wet setups. And here in the one-shot qualifying, it is raining. And that means that the drivers will be going out on their wet setups, which means that during the race, the sprint race and the feature race, they will all be using the exact same setup, which will be the wet setup. And if it's going to be dry, it is going to be an amazing fight to see, because the drivers will have to navigate the dry in the wet setup. So, starting with our qualifying, we first off have a few points to go over. First off, Cutthroat getting a qualifying ban and having to sit out this qualifying. Big Turns retiring was not planned, and that's unfortunate. Naismith also going sideways and into the barrier does save it, so might go for a final position, as Scottish is currently the driver who is navigating the wet the best as of now. Paddy following in second, Jan third, Yuri in fourth. This is where it's crucial. Haas has not completed the championship run just yet. So Scottish and Yuri will have to fight for the wins. Together with Tintenfish and Naismith, who just retired from the session, starts 17th. So Williams in a bit of trouble for that fight. But then again, it's only the sprint race where this is going to be important. Qualifying, currently Scottish still in first, Paddy trailing not far behind, and Tintenfish jumping up as well. So the Williams does have a car currently in second place. So we are going around the spoon corner up to the fastest bit of the track. The very, very long straight, and the left-hander that's supposed to be flat, but in the wet, it most certainly will be a challenge. Scottish, the first driver to approach it, does keep his foot down and keeps it within the lines. Very nice. And we're going to wait and see if any driver will lift. I believe I saw some swapping further down below, and I do see some more swapping, but not for Scottish, as he takes pole position for the sprint race. Tintenfish dropping in second, and Yuri following up his teammate only a few tenths behind in P3. A few drivers not finishing their laps. Naismith, Big Turns, Cutthroat, Jan, and Mini Turns, as we have one more driver going over the line, and that is it. Qualifying completed. Scottish taking pole position. So this is the grid start for the sprint race, and I completely forgot to check how many laps that is, but we'll find out soon enough. Gap's quite big, as Divine Eye was the final driver to go over the line, and that is 15 seconds behind Scottish. Might have been a mistake, most likely. Same for Jaspars, but the drivers that seem to be purely on pace behind is 3.2 seconds down to P12 for Shermanator. Everyone behind Divine Eye has either DNF'd or not participated in the qualifying, and Cutthroat had that qualifying ban, which he served now at the start of this weekend. That does mean that he can get through the sprint grid a little bit better, maybe get himself into the top 10, because we know Cutthroat, fast driver. He can get it into the top 10 and then start the feature race in a position where he maybe would have qualified. Or at least closer to the position where he would have qualified. So that will be a challenge for him. And here it is. Sunny weather in Japan. We have had qualifying in the complete wet. All the drivers will have their wet setup loaded, most likely. And now it is completely sunny, completely dry. So they're going to have to navigate that a little bit better. So the wet setup does not work as well, and I believe, as we see lots of drivers jumping out, I'm going to have to check what is happening, and I believe that is going to be a restart. That is a restart. So lots of drivers not having their setup ready. And we are going to have a small intermission. So we have a lobby restart, which is not the thing that we want, but unfortunately it has to be like this. So we have to wait for a moment. I'm going to quickly turn this off so you can just hear me. And it's just a question whether we're going to keep the same grid or not. I believe we have gotten confirmation that we are using the grid what we saw just now, so that would be Scottish on pole position. Alright, yep, that seems to be the case. So, now that that's going on, I've got a little bit more time to talk about the other points for this weekend. It's not only the format being a sprint and a feature race, and with a one-shot qualifying determining the order. It's not only the fight for Haas to claim the championship and Williams to have to fight for it. It's also a lot of drivers that have been swapped out. Tronzik, for example, and Williams, second place in the standings, is not going to participate this weekend. As you saw, the Williams car of Tronzik being given to Naismith, who will be driving for Williams tonight. Further down, we saw Red Bull also only have Villiers in the car. And I believe we had big turns in the second Red Bull car. So, a couple of drivers getting swapped out. We can see the grid order in just a moment. We should get an invitation sometime soon. But in the meantime, we have to wait for a moment. So unfortunately, the incident that happened is one of the drivers readied up too quickly. So no one was able, or not everyone was able to load their setup in time before the start of the event. So some of the drivers were driving in the wet on one of the default setups, which is not something you want to do. You want to have a specialized setup for the qualifying, or drivers want to have their specialized setup for the race, which would be maybe a dry one. So I just have gotten confirmation that it will not be the grid that we ended on. We are going to do a one-shot qualifying again, as some of the drivers who were able to set their setup properly got a small advantage over the ones that did not. So we will get a new lobby, a new weekend session, but the weather will be the same. So we're starting off with a wet qualifying once again, and then we should be on our way to a dry weekend. Alright, in just a moment I should have access to the entire lineup for tonight. Going to have a quick moment to let all the drivers jump in. And one thing I can already say is that McLaren's lineup of Mrios and Mihu has been pulled apart. We currently have Mrios still in the car, but Mihu has been pulled out, and Tongana will take his place in the second McLaren car. Aston Martin saw Mookie, and I quickly forgot what who the second Aston Martin driver was. Oh, that's very bad of me. Going to quickly look at the lineup that we had. We had Mookie and Sir Spongy, and currently we have mini turns in the Aston Martin, and we're waiting for the second Aston to join in as well. And as I said before, Red Bull has Cervellier and now big turns in the second Red Bull. And for Williams, we still have Tintenfish in, but Naismith has taken the car over from Tronzik. Luckily, some of the teams are still the exact same as we saw before. Haas with Yuri and Scottish, the golden duo so far. And we have Alfa Romeo with Sparrow and Jaspers, also the exact same lineup. For AlphaTauri, we had Jack and Jan. And Jack, unfortunately, not able to make it today either. So Olowa Ritchie is the driver to replace him for this weekend. Furthermore, our Ferrari team is still the exact same. So we have Divine Eye and Touchkey on Ferrari. And I believe Mookie and Spongy both are not making this. That's Mini Turns and Cutthroat was in the Aston Martin, I believe. So that is all settled. Furthermore, we have Shermanator in the Alpine. And the second Alpine of Arkid should be there too. And I believe that is all the changes that were made throughout this weekend. So now that we're up to date with that, we should be here. One-shot qualifying, 9-lap sprint race, 27 laps feature race. Those are the numbers that we're going to be seeing as we are currently loading in. So just a few more moments and then we can get started with our weekend. I'll be turning on the game back right now. And there we have it, the loading screen with the countdown, of course, all the drivers on the right-hand side. The final time we get to see that from this season. And also from my perspective, as this will be the last event I cast for Divine Eye Racing. They're currently moving over to a PlayStation-only lobby, PlayStation-only drivers. And unfortunately, I am on PC, so I won't be able to commentate for them any further. So this will be the last event of Season 2, and the last event that I will be commentating for them, unfortunately. But hopefully, EA can get their stuff together, can get everything fixed, and maybe in the future, I'll be back. For now, back in Japan. Heavy rain once again. Everyone was out on the wets for qualifying. They're going to be doing the exact same thing again here. Now the real question is, drivers have a dry setup and drivers will have a wet setup. For now, the wet setup is quicker, as we have, of course, a wet qualifying. But we saw that the sprint race already started to be dry, completely dry, sunny even. There's a big chance the feature race will have the exact same. So the drivers can choose their wet setup to maximize qualifying, but then they'll be behind in the race. So there's a bit of a debate whether one is better than the other. And we're going to find out, because the results might be skewed a tiny bit towards the drivers that are getting the wet setup for this qualifying. Tintenfish, currently the first one with the most top speed as we're running through the first few corners of the track. This is where we can already see the standings take shape, with the faster drivers up top and the slower drivers all the way down to the bottom, as Sparrow has retired, and that is the first driver out. I don't believe Sparrow had a qualifying ban, so that must have been a mistake sending it into the wall. And I believe Cutthroat had a qualifying ban, but he's still driving. Yuri taking first. Scottish doing not as well as he was before, and Tintenfish over the line does keep it on the track, but I don't think that will be legal towards the end. There it is, Cutthroat retiring from the session, and Tintenfish dropping back from that mistake. And there's Servilliers in the Red Bull, way up at the front. Scottish making his way back through as well, as Yuri drops down to 5th place. And this time, Naismith is closer at it. The mistake he made on the previous time, not again, into P5. And here we have Scottish dropping back even more, but Paddy stationary on P2. Having it very secure, Villiers in first still. Let's see what the gap is from P1 to P6. Well, that is not that much. Only a few tenths, probably, from what it looks like. Now we have the big braking zone, the final one, before the start-finish line. Sir Villiers being the first one to cross the line, if the exit is good enough to complete it before Paddy does, and he will get that pole position. 41.7, just barely ahead of Paddy, who takes P2. And we have a Haas on P3, which is crucial for the championship. They are ahead by 29 points, which is a substantial amount. But Yuri and Scottish need to really work on this. P1 for Sir Villiers. The Red Bull will be starting on the pole position. Paddy lining up in the front row in P2 within a tenth of Villiers. So this was a lot closer than it was the previous time, because we see all the way down to P14 within 2.1 seconds. And Divine Eye was within 6 seconds. Now it's within 2 seconds. That's a big improvement. Yuri lining up in fourth. Tinterfish, Naismith in... No, Yuri in third, I should say. Tinterfish and Naismith in fourth and fifth. Scottish in sixth. Mini turns, Marios Remix, and Tongana finishing out the top 10. And that's all almost within 1.5 seconds. And for a wet track, that is impressive. That looks to be a very good grid. And the gaps here also might be explained by the fact that some drivers will be taking a dry setup. Because we saw the rain in qualifying, but here again, the sun for our first race. We can already see the cars on the grid. Everyone getting their strategies ready. Which will be either the medium tire or the soft tire for this 9-lap shootout. So we will most likely not see any pit stops besides damage repairs on the front wing. Hopefully we won't see that at all. The strategy, of course, being less important on this time around than it is the next time we are back on the grid. 9 laps, surely a distance that the softs can cover, but with a lap time that's a little bit longer than what we had the previous time around, it might just be dangerous to go for the softs. I just realized I was just thinking about the tire wear as well. In sector 1 you have the S's. In the final sector, that sweeping left-hander is also quite taxing on the tires as the lights go on and they're off as we are getting ready to get going in our sprint race. Villiers locks in first Paddy in second. Tinterfish slots in third as Yuri and Scottish are now fourth and fifth. That was not where they started. They made some moves. Villiers, solid start there, and Paddy following through. And here we see Tinterfish on the softs, whereas Paddy's on the medium. Sir Villiers in the softs as well is able to pull away, and Paddy is now in danger. He started on the harder compound, less speed, more endurance, but Tinterfish wants to go past as soon as possible so he doesn't get stuck behind this car. And look at the gap already, over half a second after just a few turns. And we see Yuri weaving behind this, and Tinterfish does go for the send on the inside of the hairpin, gets it parked side by side. Some wheel banging I can see, but Paddy still holds on to that position. Tinterfish more speed around the outside because of the compound. Zero stop as predicted, but Paddy is still ahead, and there's a small tap from the looks of it. Both cars still making it within the lines, and there's Yuri available and ready to take on that battle as well. So Villiers almost already a second gap behind. Has them outside of DRS. Whenever that happens, Yuri goes for a look for Tinterfish. Now, sweeping left-hander. That's usually not an overtaking spot, but Yuri does it anyway. Tries to make it happen. Slots back in as Tinterfish goes for something else. A small contact as Yuri takes the inside in the chicane for the second turn and gets pushed wide by Tinterfish as he goes over the line. And Villiers, the first one over the line, and 1.5 seconds to the car behind. Yuri now looking for a send on the inside on Tintenfish, who wants to send it himself. And Yuri gets the overtake done into turn 1. Yuri almost overshooting and hitting Paddy in the back. And maybe he is going to be the one to make it all happen. Looking at the tire strategy for everyone. Paddy, the first one of the top 7. The only one running on the medium compound. As there's a yellow flag out for a car way behind. Is that Naismith? That is Naismith. Way at the back. He has gone off, and that must surely be something, as he's going very slowly over the grass and over the gravel. Got to regain his composure here. Paddy on the medium tires and a lot of cars behind him on the soft. Scottish also looking very feisty, very close to Tintenfish as well, only a few tenths behind him. And Yuri now needs to get the overtake done on Paddy. Don't think he can just yet. We have a sweeping section coming up now on the left-handers, and he does go for it. Sticks his nose on the inside wheel, and he backs out of it and goes further down the order. Currently in 4th place, Tintenfish gets the position back. But we have a long straight coming up, and Yuri might be able to look for something. Tintenfish this time going defensive on the inside. Yuri might have the position already going into it, but Tintenfish keeps the nose in and does the exact same thing Yuri did beforehand. And now they're swapped in position. Yuri going for the double overtake, sending it on the inside of Paddy. Does get the position, gets it stopped just in time for the chicane. And Paddy drops back to 3rd place. Yuri making the double overtake work. And that is a beautiful job done with the Haas driver as he takes 2nd place. Now has to go defensive as Paddy wants to take that position back, with the medium tires just not able to do it. Yuri holding on to 2nd place, and now he can catch Villiers up in front. He's also gone on the softs and has already pulled a 3.7 gap behind. Scottish now stuck behind Tintenfish. Tintenfish, the driver on the softs as well, not able to make it as Naismith is the one that DNF'd. This is not good for Williams. They want to take the position in the constructor standings, but Villiers holding first does not have the points available for Tintenfish, as he is in 4th place. Yuri in 2nd and 5th. Going to be more points than Williams rack up in this event. And Naismith starting 19th, last place in the feature race, as the 2nd Alpine unfortunately is not turning up. And that is quite possibly due to connection issues. I think that's what I saw before. Marios looking to get something done as well. Has the mediums, is following Shermanator quite well. I think Dutchkey already getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That must be track limits, and that indeed is track limits. So the Ferrari driver in 10th place, dropping back a position as it stands with that 3-second penalty. A third of the race done already. Jan getting an overtake done into the chicane. Holds it, parks it, makes it. Mini turns getting overtaken. And the medium tire is working, because Mini Turns is also on that tire. These 3 cars, all 3 of them on it. Dutchkey is looking for something, doesn't quite get it. Tongana is looking for something as well, following closely behind Remix. And the front runners are still in the exact same way as they started. Big Turns now making the dive on Divine Eye into turn 1. And does it very beautifully, gaining that position. Scottish now the driver on the attack through the S's, finalizing the exit here. And trying to get Tintenfish. Tintenfish on the softs doesn't get Paddy. And Paddy, with the DRS, able to get close to Yuri every single time. But the softs just a bit too strong through the curves. And Yuri able to pull away. But that DRS is still there. So Paddy doing a good job of making that medium tire last. And hopefully for him, this is what he's betting on, is he wants to make the soft runners kill their tires and trying to pull away from him as soon as possible, so that the medium tire lasts a bit longer. And that's going to be the strategy for everyone on the 2nd half of the grid almost, as we can see here. Cutthroat, Terminator and Oloa Ritchie are going on that soft tire. Scottish side by side makes it happen. Already passed, so that's the overspeed that Scottish has on that straight. And now he's going to be the one to attack Paddy's. Yuri gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits, and that is through the chicane. So Yuri attacking that chicane just a little bit too much. And that will grant him a few positions dropped at the end of this race. Scottish now the one to put the pressure on Paddy. So his teammate now the one to be in charge of getting Paddy further down. So if Scottish can put the pressure on, Paddy will not be able to follow Yuri as closely, and Yuri will be able to pull open the gap. And Paddy might even be able to overtake and play blockade for the Mercedes, so that Yuri can get that 3-second time penalty added to the end of his time. And then still keep that same position. Or maybe swap with Scottish as a thank you for the work he'll have done. But in order to do that, Scottish first has to go past. So Cutthroat, Tutski, and Yuri already having that 3-second time penalty to their name. And that's only after 5 laps. Imagine having 27 of these in the feature race. That is going to be a sight to behold. All the drivers will be getting penalties at this rate. Scottish closer to Paddy than Paddy is to Yuri. Good pace there. Good grip through the spoon. But so does Paddy. And it looks like Yuri has kind of made a mistake. They're now right behind each other, all boxed in. Scottish is boxed in. Yuri's on the inside, and there's a yellow flag in Sector 2, and that is a Ferrari out, it seems. That looks to be Divine Eye. Yuri going past, keeping it in front. Scottish getting the position, looking squirrely on the exit there. Same for Paddy and Tintafish. Everyone looking to be out of grip at the exit of the chicane. Scottish getting that position from Paddy, now able to play the brakes as he overtakes Yuri. This is not team orders. There's no order being given here. It is a free-for-all battle between the Haas drivers, and Yuri has to work for it. Getting 3rd place handed to him, and Scottish chasing Villiers now. Only 3 laps remaining after this one. Needs a 2nd lap in order to catch. And that is going to be a difficult task. Paddy still following very closely as we see more and more yellow flags. That is Sparrow in Sector 1. Who's now picking up the pace again. So yellow flags have been lifted. Quite a difficult track from everything that I've seen so far. Drivers making mistakes in certain places. Paddy going quite deep. And Tintafish even deeper has that compound to work with him. And there's the Aston of Cutthroat out in the end of Sector 1 as well. Is going again, fortunately enough. So we'll be racing with us still. Paddy at the driver under pressure once again as Tintafish is following right behind. The Williams chasing hard. Paddy on the medium tire. Tintafish needs to get past if he wants to make this tire work. So that's the difference in strategy that they have. Following very closely, even through the dirty air. Holding on the inside. Does make a send. Doesn't get it close enough. Paddy the one holding the inside. Couldn't see that through the camera switch. And Paddy having to go defensive is a bad sign for him, as he doesn't go all the way to the inside. Tintafish going towards the outside is already past, and with that extra grip able to go way deeper. Or goes off the line over the curbs and is now backwards on the edge of the track. Has to rejoin, sees other cars join, and decides that it's better to go off the track and rotate down to P12. That was P4 for him, and he just went a little bit too deep, touched the curb, and now has to recover. As Yuri is going to be the one under pressure now again. As Paddy behind him. He's got 3 seconds to Jan. So he doesn't have anything to worry about. He can just look ahead. There's no strategy at play here. It's just driving. As Remix just overtook Jan. So now Remix's teammate. It's just he has the gap. It's about 4 seconds now. And he slows down. That is curious. I didn't get to see the overtake, but it might have been an off-track overtake because Remix gave the position back to Jan. So unsure what happened there, but it must have been an illegal overtake. And that only makes the gap bigger. So Paddy will very much thank him. And Paddy might have made a mistake as well, as he's 2 seconds behind. Here we see Remix going at it again. Jan going defensive. Remix has to go around the outside. Doesn't do it just yet. Now has to stay behind as Jan is defending very, very well. Now through the chicane. Looks like Remix stuck it out a little bit further than needed. As Shermanator is now our 4th driver to pick up the 3-second time penalty. Jan now defenseless as Remix and Tutski both have the DRS. Tutski trying to make it a double, is on the inside and doesn't get it done. Does try and do it again here on the second right-hander. Doesn't get it still. Jan on the inside did get 1 position as Remix was in the middle of this pack and decided to back out. Is on the better tire of the 3 drivers, but Jan still staying out in front. And Remix in 7th place. Did back out of that 3-way battle. So that gave Tutski a position and a little bit of a bigger buffer to the cars behind. So he might not lose as many positions once he gets that 3-second time penalty applied. Now Yuri has that gap of 3 seconds behind him. So Scottish and Yuri pulling away quite well. As Oliver Ritchie gets a 3-second time penalty as well. So that is our 12th place driver with a 3-second penalty too. So 5 drivers so far picking up those penalties in not even the third of the total race length. So that's going to be something to look at in the feature race as well right after this is done. Maria's now real close to the rear of that AlphaTauri. Already has the position on penalties, but maybe sees that Shermanator is right ahead. Also has that penalty, so wants to chase that down. Needs about a second on the final lap. Don't think he can do it. Yuri is now out of DRS of Scottish as well. And Tutschke is now the one going for it. Tongana actually overtaking Marios, his teammate. As Marios, Tongana is looking for another one on Oloa Ritchie. Gets side by side, pushed wide, and there's contact on the grass for the McLaren into the barriers, and Tongana is out. That was an unfortunate series of events, as Tongana is out of the race. No safety car called, as it is the final lap, but that is something for the stewards to have a quick good look at. Tutschke, in the meantime, took the position off of Jan, making that buffer a tiny bit bigger. But as of now, it looks like he's going to be dropping 4 positions in total, because everyone is so close. This train is just within half a second of each other. Big Turns trying to join in as well. Shermanator a little bit behind, but might want to hop in as well. Tinterfish jumped up to 11th after dropping down to 12th with the incident between him and the front runners. And now might gain that position for the from the 3-second penalty from Shermanator. Yuri still 3 seconds ahead of Paddy. Way much more. Jan going off the track. Wants to rejoin back. Goes a bit sideways and appears to have just missed every single car. And gone back onto the track, but dropping a few positions back. And this grants Tutschke a little bit more of a buffer. As Villiers has crossed the line in the meantime. Scottish in 2nd place and Yuri in 3rd. So the sprint race winner is Sir Villiers in the Red Bull. Paddy going through now in 4th place. Tutschke in 5th. Where will he finish? Remix takes 5th. And Tutschke drops all the way down to 9th. Tinterfish jumps up to 10th. So that is, I believe, Tutschke finished 5th and drops down to 9th. That's 4 positions lost. And Tinterfish, the final one in the top 10. Shermanator 11th. Oloa Ritchie 12th. Murios 13th. Sparrow 14th. Divine Eye 15th. Jaspar 16th. And Cutthroat, still at the spoon, will be finishing in 17th place. So Sir Villiers having the victory at the sprint race here in Suzuka. Will start in 1st place. But look at where Haas is starting. 2nd and 3rd. So they're 29 points ahead in the constructors. And their rivals, Williams, will be starting 10th and 19th for the longer race. So that is going to be quite an easy job if nothing goes wrong. And that's if nothing goes wrong. And as you know, anything can go wrong. Sir Villiers, your sprint race winner in the final weekend of the 2nd season. So as you can see here, the results of the sprint race, and this will also be the grid for the feature race. So the front row consisting of a Red Bull and a Haas, and the second row of a Haas and a Mercedes. And then we have the third row with a Mercedes and an Aston, and then we have a Red Bull again on P7. So a good start for Haas and Mercedes for the race. I'm going to have to find out what's going to happen there in just a few moments. We're going to have one more quick break as a transition between the sessions. And then we have a 30-second period where the drivers can change their strategies. Maybe take out some fuel, maybe put in some extra fuel, depending on what they feel like would be best for them after having practiced for this race. Because every driver is different. And the feature race is getting dry as well. So the drivers that took the wet setup, I don't believe a lot of drivers have, but there might be some drivers that have chosen for the wet setup for the race. And they might be. Actually, I don't think anyone's gone for the wet setup. From what I've seen, everyone was very competitive. Maybe some small changes in the strategy in the race base, maybe. But overall, everyone looked on rails. Every car looked to be pretty clean. So the final preparations must be almost complete. So we've been standing here for a little bit, but as per the rules, we're not allowed to press ready until everyone is done. So we're gonna have to wait for the game to automatically count us down, so everyone has the exact same time and the maximum amount of time that they could get to get their setup and their strategy going. On the right, I can see a Ferrari bumping up and down. Lots of the other cars as well, bobbing up and down. I don't know if you can see that. You can see through the gates, the cars being really excited to go. Especially that Ferrari, and I think that's an Alpine as well on the right-hand side. So ready to get started in this event. As am I. This is going to be a banger of an event. Villiers, starting on the front row, has taken a victory before. And has done that in Spain in the third round of the season. Besides that, it's returned to the podium a few times. Third in Brazil, second in Qatar, and second in Abu Dhabi as well. Hasn't gotten another victory in the feature race after this. And Yuri's last victory was in Belgium at Spa. So that's a few events ago as well. And Scottish, a driver that has stood on the second spot twice. 2 podiums, both second place. And is now looking for a victory as well, maybe to finish out the season. Has 4 DNFs to his name this season. So might want to go for it again. And trying to send it as hard as he can to get that done. Batty in 5th. Has not won either. Has 2 podiums, both 3rd place to his name. So wants to get that in. Currently, Villiers and Paddy only separated by 2 points in the standings. And Tintafish is right behind that as well. As we're getting the first lights on. As we are racing now at Suzuka. A good launch from Sir Villiers. Scottish on the inside, already looking feisty. Is a little bit better away. Has the inside and the soft compound. Villiers is opted for the hards, and Scottish is already past in the first turn. And Yuri looking to go offensive as well. Yellow flag already for Naismith, who is out and behind in the first turn. And Scottish getting that first place. Maria's retiring from the session, and Dyer's already a full course yellow. That must be a virtual safety car, I think. From what I can see, and as Marios is out, as Scottish has that first place, as it's a virtual safety car. Yep, there it is, called out on the top left of your screen. No full safety car. So we're almost getting ready to go again. Very short one this time. Scottish will take P1 from Sir Villiers at the start, and these are the position changes. Big turns takes it from mini turns. So the big turns is indeed bigger than the mini turns, taking 6th place off him. Tutski gets past Jan, and Tongana goes 5 places up to 13th place. Cutthroat up 2, and Naismith up 1. As we are getting racing again, no time to take a look at the tires just yet. Villiers now on that hard tire, as we can see by the white rim on the edges of the tire, and Yuri on the mediums, which are the yellow ones. He is going past and gets the overtake done before reaching the sweeping left-hander. And Scottish has a massive gap in front of him. Yuri, another one to play blockade, going through the chicane cleanly this time to not get that 3-second time penalty again. In the end, didn't affect him, but would be nice to not get that again. Scottish trying to build a big gap, as we see drivers on all 3 compounds, softs, medium, and hards. We do have some time to look at it right now. Naismith already in the pits. We see 3 hard runners. It's Jasper, Sparrow, and Villiers. And we have a few sovereignists as well. Scottish, Dutchkey, Tintafish, Oliver Ritchie, Tongana, and Divine Eye, all on the soft, wanting to make that first stint as effective as possible. The rest all on the mediums, trying to look for that middle ground, and that might be the riskiest strategy. Batty now, 4th place, very close to getting an overtake done. It's trailing Villiers, who is on the hard tire, and Patty's on the mediums. So that would be a compound advantage for the Mercedes drivers. And as I said before, Patty and Remix close in the standings, 15 points difference. And Remix has got a victory last time in Abu Dhabi. Only podium in this season. Might want to go for another one this time. Has P4, P5 I mean. And is looking very, very on the offense. Trailing Paddy by just a moment. Scottish dropping back a little bit already. Scottish only has a half a second gap now to Yuri. Yuri's following quite closely. I mean, is that soft tire already done? 1 lap. And he's already dropping back as he's making a small mistake there. Kind of upsetting the car on the exit. And this is where Yuri can get that the time. As Yuri sets in the fastest lap and is getting closer and closer. DRS is enabled on this lap. So, on the previous lap, Yuri just gained on pure pace. That's with the harder compound. So that is curious to see. Maybe Scottish not really liking the tire choice. Tintafish all the way up to 9th. And there's a spin. Just got it on the rear end there. As Dutchkey goes around and now sits behind. Has to rejoin behind his teammate Divine Eye. And now is 16th place. As there was contact between the Williams and the Ferrari. And one of them got the worst end of it. Big turns. Now chasing this back as well. Remix has dropped back. It's now out of the second, out of the DRS. And Big Turns trying to make something happen. Only one DRS zone here on this track. And it's over the start-finish line right as you exit the final corner of the track. Protection point is right before the chicane. So we might see a little bit of DRS games going on. Big Turns not really that far on the defense. And Mini Turns is also getting attacked by Tintafish. And as you know, that is a dangerous car to have behind you. Because the pace would just be so quick. As we see Dutchkey spin at the end of the spoon corner. Big Turn's not going for the send just yet. Waiting for it, waiting for the proper moment. Yuri still not past Scottish. So that's the advantage of the soft tire. Remix going defensive. But there is Big Turns already through. And that is the DRS strength around this track. Very high rear wing. Which means that you have a lot of drag. It's a lot of top speed being scrubbed off. But a lot of grip. But as soon as that wing goes open, you get a lot more top speed compared to the drivers that do not have DRS. So the DRS are very strong. It's a very short part where you get the DRS. But because of the high wing angles, it is a very strong tool to use. Paddy now the one on the attack. And the top 4 all within half a second of each other. Almost. It's Yuri and Villiers now. Struggling between the 0.5 and the 0.7. Paddy looking on the offense. Wants to get that podium once again. Has got 2 third places to his name. Wants to make that a second place or maybe even a first place as he's going right on the line in the spoon corner. Gets close to Villiers, who is on the hard tire. The Scottish not able to make the softs work. He is leading, but it's not by a big amount. He pulled the gap earlier on and then just dropped back. So unsure what's going on there. I don't know if that's strategy or not, if he's trying to save the tires. There's a yellow flag and that's Tongana off. Right before the chicane, and that's down to P15 for the McLaren. That's an unfortunate weekend for them. Tongana DNFing on the previous outing, which was the sprint race. Having to start last place or somewhere towards the back. Maria's now DNFing as well in the feature race, not getting any points on the board for the McLaren team as they just overtook Red Bull in the standings. Are very close behind Ferrari, who are having a DNF of themselves. That is P17 for Dutchkey as he DNFs, and that is Shermanator off as well. It's the Alpine through the S's getting off the track. Rejoins now, but in last place as Jaspers sends it through. Paddy now the one almost sending it as well. Getting real up close and personal with Villiers, the Red Bull, just able to stay in front. And that is parking it on the apex of the hairpin. Gets a better exit, and now Paddy is maybe in danger of big turns. He'll have Remix behind. A Remix now in 6th place. Tinterfish got past the Aston Martin of mini turns a little bit before. And Yuri now within a few tenths of Scottish. Might look for something here, as the teammates have been known to battle, as we saw before in the sprint race already. And Yuri on that medium tire looking very, very strong compared to Scottish on the soft. He might have a bit of an advantage here. Yuri going defensive, trying to block off anything that Villiers wants to do. Goes into the slipstream of his teammate. But now has Villiers knocking on his door. Villiers is on the softs as well. No, he's on the hards. Yeah, Villiers was the one on the hards. I keep keep switching up which car started on which tire, and here it is. This Villiers starting on the hards is looking to be on the attack here. As Yuri's dropped back behind Scottish just a tiny bit. And the Remix now 2.5 seconds behind. Big turns in 5th place. This is a very, very good job from Red Bull, who are fighting with McLaren in the standings. Currently only 8 points behind them. Lost out last time around in Portugal. As I believe we've had a Red Bull finish in 4th, is Sir Villiers. And I don't think we got a second Red Bull to finish any higher. And Rios in 8th. And the second McLaren also finished unsure where, because that was a reserve. I don't have those numbers just yet. So Red Bull being overtaken by McLaren. Wants to get a shot back, and Tinterfish now past Remix. Even before the chicanes, that's a very good job there. Williams driver really recovering. So like I said, getting a good recovery in this race, starting in the midfield this time around. Has already made up 4 places so far. So from starting 10th all the way up to 6th place. Now has to chase the cars in front. Is on the softs. Has got the tire advantage. So maybe we'll have the pace to do something else. Remix looking very feisty through those S's though. Able to follow very closely, even though there's a lot of dirty air through the section. It's mid-speed, which is very, very heavy on the wings. And now Yuri drops down more than a second behind Scottish. As we see them battle it out for 2nd place. Currently a small train. Yuri now jumping in and out of DRS detection. We'll have the slipstream on the back straight to get him back into it. Currently there he is, Scottish in the front of your screen, now gone. Then Yuri, Villiers, and Paddy joining in as well. Big turn still in the fight. Tinterfish wants to pull away. You can see him there on the top of your screen, wanting to join in. And now Yuri's back into DRS. And there's the detection point right beneath that Pirelli banner. And Yuri's within a second again. So you can open up that rear flap, get some power through. Maybe get closer to his teammate, but all the cars behind will as well. So this is what I mean with the train. Everyone has DRS and everyone has the slipstream. So there's no overspeed from anyone, as Tinterfish is dropping back as he's the first driver to go into the pits. Tinterfish makes the stop. First drive to go in. Changes out his soft tire for what looks like to be the hards. Is that the hards? The shadows might be a little bit changing the color. Goes over the line, and that is indeed the hards. Divine Eye doing the exact same. Has pitted as well for the hard tire. So this is an early stop to maybe force the cars ahead. This might be the undercut. This might just be the undercut. So from 6th place, Tinterfish pits. Is now in 15th. Onto the hards. In clean air, but only a few seconds. We'll have traffic in just a few moments, but is on a clean set of tires. And there's mini turns going through, and that's contact. Mini turns in 10th. Jan in 9th. Jumps up to 8th. Now Cutthroat going through as well. So Jan might be giving that position back because of some contact. The Mini turns down in 10th. It does not have a wing. And there's a virtual safety car being called out. And is that for this? Is that for the fact that Mini turns lost his wing? It's a strange moment to call it, but that's a good moment for Scottish, as he might be able to respond, and he does. He does go in. Yuri's staying out. Everyone on the mediums will be staying out. So will that be for Oloa Richie? Does he go in as well? Isn't the softs, might be looking for it, and he does go in. Looking at his delta, doesn't want to go over it, and Tongana might be just on the back end of that virtual safety car, might not gain as much time with it, and Scottish going onto the hearts as well. That virtual safety car getting him a bit of time. And Tongana going in as well. Going for that jump. Scottish now out in 7th place. 8th place. Just behind Sparrow. And we have this safety car and virtual safety car ending as Yuri has taken the lead. But Scottish is on the compound that he wants to make to the end. A third into the race. On the softs. 2/3 in the hard. Doesn't sound like that bad of a thought. Villiers, Paddy, and Big Turn still in that train with Yuri, as Oliver Ritchie gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under virtual safety car, and Sparrow gets the exact same. Sparrow dropping back now and lets Scottish through. And as we saw, Tintafish in the clean air now has a car in front of him. Has to overtake, does it very neatly. So that clean air is only a little bit. But Scottish has got 6.5 seconds in front of him. All clean air. Cars ahead of him, medium runners, but except for Villiers, of course. But the medium runners, they're going to be running out of tire in a lap or maybe 6. Halfway through the race. Don't know if the softs can make it that long. The S's are very demanding, and the long sweeping left-hander as well. Spoon corner, same thing. So the right-hand tires will get a lot of load put on them. And now it's Yuri under attack. Servilier on that hard, making this first in last, getting pushed towards the inside. Small tap to show that he did indeed want that. Yuri sending his nose back into turn 1, turn 2 that is, and gets unsettled. Gives Villiers first place and drops him down to 2nd place. Paddy and Big Turns behind fighting as well. Paddy now the one looking to attack. Tintafish now past Sparrow as well. Sparrow's dropping back. He is in the pits. That is the reason why, of course. To jump back up to the front. And Paddy now the one looking to attack. Yuri still wanting to get past the Red Bull. But the longer that Villiers can stay ahead, the more advantageous it will be. Because Yuri and Paddy, they might just, and Big Turns as well, they might just have to go for a different strategy as Yuri momentarily gets past, but Villiers keeps the first place. So the medium runners might need to go into the hards at the end, because I don't know if the softs can make it. Either that or they're going to take the mediums long and take the softs towards the end. But that means that they are out of luck on the mediums. And Villiers can just go from the hards to the softs. So the longer that Villiers can keep these medium runners behind, the more advantageous it will be. So keeping that track position will be crucial for him. The Stinterfish is now through and 8.3 seconds behind Scottish. Yuri following very closely through all this. Very nicely done. Going into the chicane, breaking very deep. Has the inside. Small touch, unsettles. And now has to stay behind. Will have the DRS most likely to be pulled open. But there is Paddy to send it as well. So the wing on the Haas should be open now. Gets the position here again through turn 1. And Villiers having to stick behind this time. Paddy not able to make it overtake just yet, as it looks like Big Turns has left the session, so that makes his AI takes over, and that's going to drop him back just a little bit more. Tintafish already gaining a little bit on Scottish, so the pace difference does show a tiny bit, but Scottish had the advantage here and should be looking to go in first place after everyone ahead has pitted. So that is going to be a gap to the leader of 3.5, 4, 8, about 10 seconds. 15 seconds max, as Remix now goes past Big Turns, who indeed left the session, is now dropping further and further back. The fight for first place continues. Villiers still holding on to second. This might be a pivotal point. This is the part where you can send it. And Villiers is looking for it, making himself look in the mirrors. And there's Divine Eye, who got past Sparrow. And Sparrow now dropping back. And goes into the wall, and that's Sparrow out. And there's a safety car being called. Just as Yuri is approaching the line. So that medium tire going in and going onto the hards as well. Villiers following Paddy, following Remix. Going to follow as well. Now, it's a question whether what tire Villiers will go on to. And that has to be the medium. And is he going to try to make the medium last to the end? And this is horrible for Villiers. And Scottish now able to pick up the lead. But not with the margin that he wanted to. He'll be stuck behind the safety car. And this is unfortunate. Big Turns just rejoining. And has stopped. Is now on clean hard. So that is not as big of a deal as he thought it would be. Scottish now has first place. Tintafish stays out as well. Takes second place. And the fight is back on. So during the safety car period, I'm going to take a small break to grab some water. And I suggest you do the same thing, because this second half of the race, as we're almost approaching halfway mark, is going to be a good strategy fight. As I assume everyone is going onto the cutthroat, onto the softs, and Villiers into the mediums, of course. And look at the tire difference as well. Jaspar's 11 lap old hard stayed on this. Laura Ritchie on the mediums. So that's going to be a battle and a half. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with the action for the second half of the season finale. Well, it appears that my game has crashed. We have had a game crash. That is unfortunate. We have the season finale here, and under the safety car, my game just crashed. I believe we were just about to see the safety car going in message towards the end of this lap. So this will be very unfortunate, but the game has just closed itself. I don't know if I'll be able to get back in. That is the question. I'm going to wait for a moment, because I did see Touchkey leaving already, so I don't think he'll be able to get me an invite. And Divine Eye might be getting ready for the restart as he's still racing. And I am not able to get back in. And I am looking and waiting for an invite. Currently rebooting the game. Unsure if I'll be there in time. I have it open. But if Divine Eye is racing, he won't be able to get me back in. And that is very unfortunate. And this, of course, happens in online racing, in technology. But the fact that this has happened 3 times now in this season is, of course, not something we want. 12 events. I've commentated on, I think, 11 of them. 10 or 11. And it's happened in 3 events. So back in Austin, I think, I did a quarter or a half of a race where it crashed out. I did a race for another host, another league as well, where this happened, and now today in the season finale as well. And back in Brazil, where I luckily had Ali with me to get me back into the game, back into the lobby, and back to commentary. But unfortunately, I don't think I'll be getting anything. I have texted Divine Eye to see if he can get me back in. But there's no invite so far. Gonna wait a few more minutes to see if he gets it in. And otherwise, I unfortunately have to call it. I was just getting ready. I saw the safety car message on the top left. You could see that the safety car was active. And if the safety car goes in that lap, you can see it flicker a little bit. So I was sitting here waiting for it. I had my water just ready. Just got back. Everything ready to go. I saw the message flicker. I was about to turn open the microphone again and start yapping about all the different things, all the different scenarios. And I heard a sound glitch. And I thought, please just be a screen freeze. Please just be a screen freeze. But unfortunately, it's a little bit more than a screen freeze. It's an entire game crash. So no answer yet from Divine Eye or from Touchkey. Touchkey being online, but not seeing it. Divine Eye being shown as offline. So going to wait just a few more minutes because I don't want to let this go just yet. Because this is the season finale and I want to finish it. I want to finish it so bad. So I'm just going to sit here and wait till I get an invite, if I get any. Maybe. Maybe someone has an invite for me. Someone that is still in the lobby. Someone that's still spectating. And I could get back in and maybe miss out on a few laps, but still commentate for the final half. Final third, maybe even. But for now, it doesn't look like. No one's responding either. So it has been 5 minutes now. And of course, there's a limit on how long I can wait. Because at some point, it's just... At some point, it's just over. And there's nothing you can do. No response from anyone as of now. So, however long I want to wait, probably doesn't matter. As I'm not getting a response now, which means I'm probably not going to get a response at all. Which unfortunately means that my time here is over. And this event will be ending a little bit shorter than planned. And we will not be able to cover the end of this event. So the season finale will be ending with the knowledge of the drivers only in the lobby, currently knowing the final results, which is very, very unfortunate. If you want to see the results for yourself when they get online later in the week, you should go. There should be a link somewhere below this stream, or you can join the Divine Eye Racing Discord server. You can join in on the talks as well. Ask what the results were there. You should be able to see that or get that from someone at least without having to ask for too much. Maybe even get driving in Season 3, who knows? But for now, I believe that this is it. Yeah, it has been about 7 minutes now, which is the equivalent of about 4 or 5 laps. I don't think we're getting it. I think it's over. And that being said, I want to thank you all so much for your support throughout the past half a year, I think, that I've been commentating here. And especially this season, it has been an absolute banger. And big thanks to Divine Eye and Touchkey for setting this all up. They're absolute legends for allowing me to cast for this long. And hopefully I'll be back in the future. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see what EA does for that. Big thanks to Ali as well for those few rounds we were able to commentate together. It was an absolute blast. The best commentating experience I have ever had. And thank you guys so much for supporting. As I unfortunately have to log off now. Because there's no sign of me getting back into the lobby. So that's where I ended. I have been Olaf. AK Wops Racing. You can find me on wopsracing.com and at Wops Racing on Instagram. That's WAPS Racing. No spaces, no hyphens, no nothing. Or you can find me on Discord. Wops, WAPS. You can always give me a message. And I'll get you in contact with anything you need. Thank you all so much for your support. And I hope to see you soon.